I had a bunch of clips marked for my general thoughts on strategy and positioning in top tier. Basically every game, my default strategy is to climb to about this altitude right here, just below contrail height, on the left obviously, so you're close to your team. I do this because I want to have some level of altitude advantage over the majority of people who are going to be hugging the deck, but I also don't want my contrail to be visible so people can look up and see me just scanning with their eyes. And straight away, you can see the advantage of this is I'm coming in on the left here and we've got two Grippins coming in on towards the sort of mass of my team. Now even though they're probably around multipath height, because I'm high up above them, my missiles just fly through their plane regardless. My whole idea behind this strategy is remaining undetected as much as I can and taking advantage of the inevitable furball that's going to develop down low. I also can, like here, contest people that have also climbed possibly to a higher altitudes. Like, yes, if they're at contrail height, like really high up in like an F-15, their missile has lots of range, but they're still really easy to notch from this kind of range, so I'm not really concerned. Like with an F-15, for example, I'll just let them keep firing at me, bleed off their missiles until I'm close enough to contest. And then, you know, in something like a Mirage 2000 here, I'm in a better position once we get up sort of less than 20 kilometers. As it is, this guy looks like he's flying away, so I decide to leave him. I'm just kind of biding my time, waiting for the moment to jump down and take advantage of my position. So as I start seeing people here sort of flying towards the clump of my team, I'll start rippling off some missiles and they really have no idea I'm here. Clouds really help now as well, like since a recent update, get quite a lot of clouds, and this can really work to your advantage because it's just so much harder to spot you when you're coming in above them. And sometimes when you're firing at people down low, your missiles will get multipathed, but you know, even with these guys, they may well be at multipath height just like the Grippins at the start, but because my missiles are becoming quite top down, they just track through their plane as they're going towards the ground anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now at this point I usually make some sort of transition to the deck. I probably should have shot at that Grippin there, by the way. I don't know why I didn't. I think I thought my missiles get multipath, so I just left it as is. But as I was saying, you know, I usually make a decision at some point to transition to the deck. It's usually once the game devolves a bit and I feel like, you know, I can't remain sort of unspotted anymore, because you don't want to be defending multiple angles when you're up top because it just becomes impossible to notch stuff. Right here I've extended back to my team because I had that Grippin that I flew past and also a flanker on my tail, and it's like I didn't need to take a 2v1 because my team's still alive, so I may as well play it safe and make sure I can secure the win in this game. So as I turn around here, you'll see that the flanker has been swamped by my team now, and I'm just happy to just keep turning into this MiG-29 until I get a shot. No more Mikas, but you know, he's staying at multipath height, he's making it difficult with the terrain. So I just come around here, as soon as I get a clean lock, which is straight away in the Magic 2, I shoot it. He's completely overwhelmed with people, so, you know, he's not pre-flaring, he doesn't flare early enough, so he just eats that. Moving on to game number 2 now, and straight away you can see I'm in the same position again. I'm not at contrail height, and this guy up high who I'm moving in to contest, he hasn't spotted me because he's just locked in on my team looking down below. He hasn't sweeped his radar over towards me, and I'm not showing a contrail, so he just has no idea I'm here. And I'm going to fire a missile, and he's just lobbing missiles down at my team, completely not paying attention, ignores his RWR, most intelligent F-15 player right there. I get a lot of them. They love to fly in, spam off the rams and do not much else. Now I'm just biding my time waiting for the game to open up. Once you've contested everyone at altitude, you're kind of just free up here, especially if the team below you is distracted. They're not looking up, they're not aware of my presence, so I can just push in. I'm going to be watching their closure rates, and as soon as I see people start flying towards me in a nice head-on aspect, I'll start launching my missiles. The first flanker in this F-16 is shortly going to collect these missiles, and then I just follow after this second flanker. By the time he's going to become aware of my presence, he tries to turn in, but I'm in just such a dominant position, and even if he does stick to multipath fight, because I'm so, you know, I'm directly above him basically, that the missile's just going to go through him regardless, and I collect another kill. Moving on to game number 3 now, last one in the Mirage 2000. As I'm pushing into this guy up high, I sling a missile off of this F-16 down below. Remember to look out for those missile diamonds, that's how I knew he was there. Now, you see in the kill feed in a second, someone else does get that kill, so unfortunately I don't get to take that one. Now, you'll notice I push in quite close on this F-15 here. Until he fires, I'm not that worried. I know I can defend late and still defend a missile, and I know, yeah, I do have less range with a Mika, so I want to get as close as I can. Even after I fire, I'm still pushing in, waiting for him to fire. I want to close the distance as much as possible because an F-15 doesn't have a chance against me once we get close range. As it is, I do defend when he fires, defend it easily, and he just flies into my first missile. Again, most intelligent F-15 player. Yeah. And now I've secured the airspace, so I can happily fly in and try and take advantage of the furball again. Again, I've got some good cloud cover, so I'm going to be basically invisible to the enemy team until I get close enough to get spotted, and none of them are looking at me in the radars, they're all distracted by the furball. Now think about how this game plays out if I was part of my friendly team clump. Sure, I've got lots of support, but I'm probably not going to collect as many kills because I'm in the middle of all that chaos down below. Whereas the position I've got now, by taking, you know, taking the altitude at the start of the game, I can just fly in, select my targets, see people, you know, nice head-on aspects, and just capitalise on all the chaos. The important note here, despite the fact I don't get many kills in this situation, is I was never really in any danger. Everything I did was basically for free. This flanker here, he does manage to multipath my Mika, so I make sure I switch to the Magic 2 as he turns in, and he doesn't have a chance flaring that at that range. This last flanker, I fire my Mika off, and you'll see in a second he fails to defend it in any way. I do make sure I take a slightly defensive posture, popping a few flares just in case he counterfires with an ET, an R73, or manages to get an R77 off, for example. I'm in a decent position ready to notch. As it is, he offers no real resistance, and that's it for this game. Moving on to the next game now, back in the J-10. Best plane in the game, at top tier. People will tell you it's the F-15C. They're wrong. If you think that, you're wrong. I'll die on this hill happily. So as I'm pushing in here, at first I want to contest the altitude as usual, make sure, no one jumps up on me from above. This guy does turn away, and I can see a lot of chaos developing down below that I want to take advantage of. So I don't draw too much attention to myself with him, and I switch down below, see all these people of nice aspects. I am selective with my shots, don't want to get team kills. HMD messes with me a bit, but eventually I lock on that F-16 and fire, sling off a couple more missiles, and then I'm just pre-going into defensive posture because I know there's a good chance one of them's probably going to fire at me. I fire at that flanker as well, who turns around, and I make sure I defend that missile coming in. And yeah, easy as that really. It's really all about timing and positioning. You want to show up to the furball unspotted just as it's about to develop, basically. I'll jump ahead now to the latter part of this game where I got the last 2 kills. This game's pretty much secured, more of my team alive than theirs, but I still want the kills. And not much to talk about here. I fire at them and I defend in case they fire back, and they don't. Not quite sure how this Mirage here didn't multipath the missile, but he doesn't, and he dies. Moving on to another game in the J-10 now, and this is one of those great positions you can find yourself in if you take command of the altitude at the start. I'm uncontested up here, no one else is up here. All the enemy team down below are distracted my team just below me on the right, so they're not looking up at me. You can see on my RWR there's not that much going on, I'm not that concerned, so I have plenty of time to ripple off a bunch of missiles, and then once I've done that, I do start going into defensive posture just in case, but I can even turn back in there because no one appears to really be shooting at me. Another F-16 shows up late here, and I'm easily fire off. He can't multipath it really because it's too top down, it's just going to fly through his plane. Yet something I see a lot of people say, and you might think this looking at this clip, is top tier's no skill, you're just pointing and clicking, and I am, but the reason I can do that is because I've worked myself into a good position. If it's that easy, why isn't everyone getting lots of kills like this? The weapon systems do a lot more work for you at top tier, but the caveat to that is that means your positioning and defending has to be so much better to compensate. Yes, you can get easy kills by just flying in and just rippling off missiles and hoping, right? That might get you a couple of kills every game, but you can do better. I've moved to a game in the F-15 now, and I thought I'd do that because I've thrown a lot of shade at this video. And the difference here between what I'm doing and what a lot of other F-15 players do is after I fired my missiles, I'm planning ahead. Most people just continue flying straight, probably eat one of those counter launches coming back at them. They might have got 3 kills, but they also have died, right? I'm offsetting from my team, I'm repositioning because I alerted a lot of people to my presence there, so I'm thinking about the long game. I'm not just thinking about what am I immediately doing right now. So as I come round, I see this MiG-29. I'm thinking about the AMRAAM launch, but then I switch to a 9M because, you know, he's got a lot of terrain. He might multipath, and like 9Ms are really good in these top-down aspects. And he pops one flare, but that's not going to be enough here. As I turn back in towards the middle of the map, I'm looking at what's going on, trying to assess the situation. In a second, you'll see I take a decision to start getting low. These people are quite close, so an F-15 is not as good swing round in a notch in a pinch. So after I fire on this F-16, I'm going to start getting low because I feel like people might be close. I don't want to be flying head on and get caught out with someone sort of 5 kilometers in front of me. Yeah, I'm not feeling too comfortable because I can't really see any of the enemies. So I allow my team to go in. Again, I offset a bit, I get low, I use some terrain, and I'm just trying to get myself into a more comfortable position. And as I come around this mountain, I can see, you know, everyone's spotted now, so I can see all the enemies, so I can start planning ahead. So as I fly in here, I just check the scoreboard quickly to see what the state of the game is, and I'm just getting ready to select my targets. This F-16, head on, 10 kilometers, up high. That's a perfect opportunity there, so I happily fire a missile at him. Sadly for me, someone else gets the kill before my missile gets there, but that's fine. I fire at this F-16 here. He's not a multipath height, and it's quite difficult with the uneven terrain. It's going to be the same deal for me, so in case he does fire back, I make sure I'm already preemptively in sort of a notch, so I'm ready if he does launch. Then coming back here, I don't want to alert myself to this MiG-29 because it looks like he's RTB, and I don't want to get myself caught in a 2v1 here because it's devolved down to me being basically the last guy left. See how I used ACM there to the F-16 coming over the lip? Often a better choice than using HMD because you're just automatically going to acquire them as soon as they pop over the lip. If I'm using HMD, I might fumble with my controls and I might not get the lock as fast as I'd like. Jumped ahead now to the end of the game where it's just me in a 1v1. We've both gone back and rearmed. Yeah, I've got plenty of AMRAAMs, so I'll take some early launches happily to try and put some pressure on him. He's going to try and stay aggressive, staying at multipath. He obviously wants to close the gap. I fire a second missile as soon as I see the track warning. I want to put as much pressure on him as possible before I have to go defensive because, you know, at the end of the day, if he gets the multipath right and uses the terrain well, he can stay aggressive while I have to go into a notch here. So as soon as I feel comfortable I've defeated this missile, I'm going to turn back in and fire back. You know, when you're in these 1v1s, you've got to stay as aggressive as you can, otherwise you're going to lose the upper hand. So I managed to get around and shoot on him before he can return fire, and I'm already moving into a notch. He uses the terrain to defeat it, and as soon as I realise he hasn't fired back, I'm turning back in. I need to get that missile off as early as possible. I managed to do so, and I'm already preemptively in a decent notch position. I managed to defeat his missiles quite easily. Remember to flare, especially against flankers and MiG-29s. You're worried about those ETs and those R-73s, so you don't want to collect that and end up trading. That was it for today. Hope you found it helpful. I said in my last video I was going to do maybe an AV8 video or something like that, so I'm working on that. I just haven't got quite enough clips. That'll probably be next week. And then the one following that is, I think I'm probably going to do the Su-34. Again, I think I mentioned it, but that's the one I think I want to try first when the patch comes out. So, you know, you can look forward to those in future. I also tried to do the voiceover a bit different this time. I kind of just I played the video in the background and I just talked over it as I was watching it. Did a few takes, obviously, in parts. So let me know what you think of that. I thought it sounded a bit more natural than what I did in the last few videos, where I kind of I wrote out snippets and recorded them, you know, separately, and I thought it sounded a bit wooden maybe. So yeah, hope to see you again.